Okay, let's start with the biggest one, Kung Fu Panda 3. Only 8 reviews so far on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's at 88%, which is pretty good. And the first two Kung Fu Panda movies were well reviewed too, and they're in that part of that DreamWorks category of films that makes around 150 to 200 million range. Not the Shrek range, but the How to Train Your Dragon range. Domestically, there was a drop off. I think the first Kung Fu Panda made a little over 200 million, and the second one made about 165 million. But worldwide, I think the second one actually made more lossy because it made nearly 100 million in China, which at the time was the highest grossing, by far the highest grossing animated film ever. And with Kung Fu Panda 3, I think it's now, it might be a co-production with
Hmm.
China. With China's box office growing so much in the past year, it's probably expected to do 200 million in China, plus or minus 20 million.
Yeah, I think I expect the third movie to do better than the second movie because it has more panda. Yeah, in the US, it has more pandas. The movie, I guess, is about another panda that identified himself as Poe's dad. Came and brought him back to their village, and of course, the village get attacked, and Poe needs to train these pandas into a fighting machine.
So you
So
think because there are more cute pandas, it'll attract more?
there are more cute pandas, and I think the last Kung Fu Panda 2 was released back in 2011. And how many home video titles, who knows? But I think people might be ready for more Kung Fu Pandas.
I would
But I said
disagree
that
with you on
before,
that.
right? I said that before and
Yeah,
it didn't pan out.
yeah, or panda out.
Right, right. That's true.
But
Um,
I would disagree with you there. There was a pretty huge drop off from the first film to the second film. Because the first film did 215 million and the second film only did 165. And in terms of opening, the first film opened to 60 million and the second film only opened to 48 million. I think a big reason why they did Panda 3 was mainly because of China. The second film on a worldwide basis actually made about 30 million more than the first film. I think it might continue the trend of not doing as well in the US, but they'll do a lot better in China.
okay.
So
It's
what
fair.
figure you put into that?
I think I'm gonna go for maybe 45 to 50 opening. Reason being is, like I said, people might be
More
ready for more
pandas?
panda, more pandas. Don't underestimate cute.
Yeah.
This is not as action packed as the previous movies. I think they are emphasizing comedy this time.
Another reason I said they're targeting the Chinese market is they're releasing it near Chinese New Year. But this is usually an odd period to release a family film in the US.
Maybe it's because the
Yeah.
summer months are occupied.
Right,
you know?
because the previous two films were released during the summer. That's why I don't think it's going to do domestically do as well as the previous two films. They all like to focus on China because Kung Fu Panda 3 might be the first film in the series where it might make more in China than in the US.
That's kind of like a lot of films,
Yeah.
big special effect films. So, what kind of numbers are you putting on this movie opening?
Uh, I'm actually putting it just a slight notch below yours. I'm thinking like 35 million.
Entirely possible. I mean, there could be the
Yeah.
blizzard could go on for a bit longer. So it might affect the box office, but I'm getting a sense that I think Kung Fu Panda 3 kind of returns to the comedy, I guess, that action comedy that makes the first movie so successful.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, the first two films were actually, even Kung Fu Panda 2 was actually pretty well reviewed.
Yeah, in the 80s, like Kung Fu Panda was 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kung Fu Panda 2 is 81%.
This one looked like it'll probably fall in that range too.
Going by like historical trends, you could be right, kind of like the Alvin and the Chipmunk movies, right? Where each
Yeah,
subsequent movie did less and less. But we'll
yeah.
see if Kung Fu Panda 3 can move the
It
franchise
bucked
in the right direction.
It's not like Kung Fu Panda 2 moved it in the wrong direction. It's because it was decently well reviewed, and especially for sequels, that's very good. Because sequels are usually worse reviewed than the originals,
Mhm.
and this one is only slightly, it's still in the 80% range, which is very good for a sequel. And Kung Fu Panda 3 looks like it'll fall in that range. I don't think the quality taper off too much. Maybe the draw of it is just not as high.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, don't underestimate the drawing power of pandas, especially when there are lots of them.
Yeah, it could be, this could be the minions effect. You know,
Right.
they're like, you know what? People want to see pandas. We'll just give them lots of cute pandas, and it might do better. Who
Right,
knows? You
right,
might be right.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll come back next week and we'll see how this movie will.